For decades, Princess Peach had just one role in the Mario series, to get kidnapped and shout, but as the years went on, this basic story began feeling out of date for many players. Why couldn't Peach have more of an active role in the Mario series? In 2017, things came to a head when Super Mario Odyssey featured Bowser forcing Peach to marry him. This plotline was meant to be funny, but for many fans it just felt tone-deaf and out of date. Even staff at Nintendo of America pushed back against the storyline. So, in response to the backlash, Nintendo decided to rethink Princess Peach from the ground up. In recent games, Peach joins Mario and team to save the day, rather than spending the whole game locked in a tower. And in the Mario movie, it's actually Luigi who gets kidnapped, not Peach. So in this video, I want to take an inside look at this transformation. We'll discover why Peach was given the role of damsel-in-distress back in the 80s, how Nintendo realized that this might be a problem, and why they transformed her into a stronger character. Part 1. Why a damsel? Our story starts not with Princess Peach, but instead her predecessor, Pauline. In the arcade game Donkey Kong, Pauline is the damsel in distress who Mario has to save. The story famously goes that Nintendo wanted to create a Popeye arcade game, with the three main characters being Popeye the Sailor, Bluto the villain, and Olive Oil, the beautiful lady. But due to technical issues, the game's designer, Shigeru Miyamoto, had to replace those three with new characters of his own: Donkey Kong, Mario, and Pauline. It's no surprise then that these three characters follow classic film logic from the 1930s, where a beautiful woman needs saving from being, say, tied to train tracks, or even being kidnapped by a gorilla. Shigeru Miyamoto later reflected, "Back in the days when we made the first Donkey Kong, that was a game we first made for the arcades. The arcades were not places girls went into often, and so we didn't even consider making a character that would be playable for girls." A few years later then, when Miyamoto went on to design the original Super Mario Bros., this classic trope carried over. Mario would once again have to save a damsel in distress, but this time it was the princess of the Mushroom Kingdom, called Princess Peach. And Peach was really a plot device, not a character of her own. Miyamoto explained, "Clarity is very important in games, and players need to be able to understand what they need to do immediately. That's why the structure of going to rescue the kidnapped princess has functioned as a kind of symbol." Even Princess Peach's name came from the fact that Miyamoto associated girls with the color pink, the color of a peach. And none of that is a terrible thing. It's not like Mario is some fleshed out complex character in Super Mario Bros. Either. The game retells a classic fairy tale type story, with the player controlling the hero. Except, as the series went on, Peach's role didn't really evolve. Yes, Peach was playable in the American version of Super Mario Bros. 2. Nintendo needed 4 characters, one of whom could glide, and so Peach was really the only option. But from that point on, Peach's only job became to get kidnapped and scream for Mario. That might have been fine in the 80s, but as the years went on, in games like Super Mario Sunshine or Super Mario Galaxy, the trope began feeling pretty outdated. Even Miyamoto acknowledged, "I understood that there were criticisms that Peach's portrayal didn't fit with the current image of women. However, it's also a part of the game's mechanics that can't easily be changed." But while Miyamoto might have been resistant to change Peach's role, there were others at the company who felt differently. Except Nintendo's first attempts to update Peach didn't go very well. Part 2. Peach gets a game. By 2005, the gaming landscape had begun to change, slowly but surely. While arcades may have been mainly visited by gamer guys, in the early 2000s, Nintendo began going out of their way to bring in more women to the world of video games. In particular, the DS was designed to draw in a wide audience, with games like Nintendogs and Brain Age. According to Miyamoto, with the DS era, what we found is more and more women began playing games, both young girls and adult women playing games like Professor Layton and Animal Crossing. So more and more we had females who wanted to be able to play as female characters. And so, in response to this demand, Nintendo greenlit a DS game where you didn't play as Mario, but instead Princess Peach. That game was Super Princess Peach, and it was, well, a mixed bag. For a start, the game wasn't developed within Nintendo itself, but rather an outside studio, Toze. I think that points to the fact that Super Princess Peach wasn't exactly top priority for Nintendo, though of course Nintendo was still involved in the project. According to Shigeru Miyamoto, it was important to us for Peach to be Peach-like. As for what Peach-like means, it's that free optimism of a princess. She has never seen herself as protected by Mario. So what do you do in Super Princess Peach? Why, you affect the world around you using 4 out-of-control emotions: joy, rage, gloom, and calm. And, well, for Nintendo's first game centered on Peach to be all about using your emotions, it struck an odd note for many. That, alongside the fact that the game was sent to journalists in heavily perfumed boxes, meant that Super Princess Peach felt like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Yes, Princess Peach was in the driver's seat, rescuing Mario for a change, but Nintendo still hadn't fully escaped the critique that Peach was dated and old-fashioned. A few years later, Peach would get another chance to save the day, though this time it was alongside Mario and friends. In Super Mario 3D World, Princess Peach is a playable character, working to save the kidnapped Sprixie princesses. Yes, there's still kidnapped princesses, but at least this time they're fairies, not human women. Initially, Peach wasn't going to be playable in 3D World. It was Mario producer Yoshiaki Koizumi who pushed for her inclusion, stating in an interview, "I feel like Mario games have done lots of representation of male characters over the years, perhaps much more so than female. So it's actually really nice to be able to have a female playable character in the game." In fact, 3D World features 2 playable female characters, as Princess Rosalina is unlocked when you beat the final boss. So, in the early 2000s, it really felt like Nintendo was moving in a positive direction. It's not like Peach shouldn't be dainty or sweet, she just needed something to do that wasn't being kidnapped in every single Mario game. She needed fleshing out a little. And that's what Nintendo attempted to do in 2017, but it didn't go well. Part 3. The Marriage Plotline. In Super Mario Odyssey, Bowser's plot isn't just to kidnap Peach for the heck of it. This time round, he's preparing to marry Peach, gathering up flowers, a ring, and a wedding dress throughout the game, until he finally attempts to force Peach's hand in marriage at the end. Peach in Super Mario Odyssey is indeed fleshed out. When Mario saves her from said marriage, and then tries to offer her flowers of his own, Peach firmly rejects him, and instead embarks on a holiday, sightseeing around the world. She does indeed have agency here, at least in the post-game. However, the forced marriage plotline just struck a really off note for many people when Super Mario Odyssey was revealed. and the same was true inside Nintendo of America. According to Krista Yang, who led the game's marketing, it was a really big topic when we were working on this game at Nintendo, and I remember having so many meetings with the dev team and localization team about this topic of Bowser forcing Peach to marry him, and how that was a little strange and definitely antiquated. And I have a very clear recollection of bringing this up for the first time and actual shock from the developers. The developers of the game, in particular producer Yoshiaki Koizumi and director Kenta Motakura, had intended this plotline to be funny. It was supposed to be slapstick, cartoon logic, like something from Popeye, the original basis for Mario. But in a modern landscape, forced marriage is just not a funny topic for many people. No matter how funny you try and make it, it just carries a lot of baggage. Kit Ellis, another marketing lead at Nintendo of America, remembered, "The developers kind of came around on it once E3 started, and they started seeing those questions coming in from people, and they were like, maybe you're right." And at that point, they weren't going to change the game, but they did share some different perspectives on it. So while Peach's portrayal in Super Mario Odyssey did take some steps forward compared to, say, New Super Mario Bros., where Peach is pretty much a blank canvas, the forced marriage storyline was such an issue that it overshadowed the rest of Peach's characterization. But with Nintendo's developers acknowledging this issue, the company decided to take a proper look at Peach's role in the Mario series. And what followed was a whole lot of change for the princess. Part 4. A New Peach. The first big change for Peach came in the Super Mario Bros. Movie, which released in 2023, but had been in the works for a number of years. In this movie, Peach isn't a damsel in distress at all. Instead, she helps train Mario to defeat Bowser and rescue the kidnapped Luigi. According to Shigeru Miyamoto, this was one of our first conversations to make her the strong, powerful princess she was always meant to be. In this first movie, the goal was to make Peach a fighter, powerful, and for the sequel, the Super Mario Galaxy movie, Nintendo decided to flesh out Peach even further, showing different sides to her. By depicting Peach's worries and emotions and the fluctuations in her relationship with Mario, I think she became a richer character. In other words, Nintendo and Illumination Entertainment were interested in really deepening Peach's character, making her not just a prop for the player to save, but an actual person with her own personality. And this reimagining of Peach took place in the games too. Around 2019, Nintendo began working on Princess Peach Showtime, a game which put the princess back in the main role after almost 20 years. Showtime was developed by Goodfeel, the studio behind the recent Yoshi games. And like Yoshi, Princess Peach Showtime was designed to be playable in particular for younger gamers. Peach here feels like a character that young players can look up to. She takes on all sorts of roles, from baker to ninja to sword fighter. And what's interesting is that the Mario movie had a direct impact on the game. In early versions of the game's box art, Peach has a somewhat vacant-looking facial expression. But in late 2023, this artwork was updated to make her face more expressive, with a notable similarity to her look from the Mario movie. Ninja Peach also gets a new expression, which feels much more fitting with her ninja pose. And it wasn't just the box art. In the game itself, small tweaks were made to Peach's expression between early versions and the final game. So, Princess Peach Showtime may not be a game for everyone. It's very easy and quite short. But it's clear that Nintendo really was listening to the feedback and updating Princess Peach for the modern era. In Super Mario Bros. Wonder, like in 3D World, Peach is a playable character alongside Mario, Luigi, and the others. But this time round, Princess Daisy is also playable, with Rosalina being added in the Switch 2 edition as well. Including more playable female characters was a goal for the team. The game's director, Shiro Mori, said in an interview, "I have 2 daughters myself, and when they played previous Mario titles, they would always fight over who gets to play Peach. Including Daisy will help resolve fights within my own household. And I also thought that having Daisy would be something that a lot of Mario fans would be happy with." Also, the characters who need saving in Super Mario Bros. Wonder aren't princesses this time. They're poplins, ordinary citizens of the Flower Kingdom. This game really feels like it pushes the Mario series forward. So, to step back a little, it's not like there's necessarily something wrong with telling a story about a kidnapped princess. But when you keep retelling that same story again and again and again, it gets tired pretty quickly. Peach just has so much more potential than getting locked up in a castle in every single Mario game, and I'm so happy that Nintendo seems to want to explore that potential with its recent games. In fact, I really can't imagine that Peach will ever get kidnapped again in the Mario series. You never know, of course, but I really believe that Nintendo has decided to move on from this tired story trope. And I think that's a really good move. After all, if you yearn for the days of Peach getting kidnapped, there's decades worth of Mario games you can replay. But going forward, if we get a wider range of playable characters, brand new kingdoms to save, and a more interesting take on Princess Peach, I think that's a really great thing. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Videos like these are made possible thanks to my kind patrons, including Arthur Nicole, Brett Prophet, Daryl Jero, Duran, Esther Lopez, Fresh Poetic, Jim Gilsonen, Kieran Chan, Kinugu, Lucas Little, May I, Michael Gunter, Robinstick, Skator Pie, and Thomas Söderlund.